Hello and welcome again. Once again, we're back at Fred Asquith on Film, TikTok and Instagram. Hosted. That's not the title of the fucking show, by the way. At Fred Asquith on Film, TikTok and Instagram. It's Fred Asquith on Film, where you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Fred Asquith on Film. Hello to new followers. Hello to new listeners. The Wicked videos that I put out got quite a lot of views. I think it was considered a controversial view, which I'll come on to thinking why it's not. Really nice to see the numbers going up, strength to strength as usual. We've got a packed show today, so I'm going to crack on. We've got the fallout from Wicked. That's the title of what will be a massive diatribe. I really don't want this to just be another episode about Wicked. There are other things we're talking about today. But then again, it is going to be one of the highest grossing movies of the year. It's an absolutely huge deal. And I want to talk about the fallout from Wicked. We're also going to talk about a screening that I went to this week, which blew me away. We're going to talk about Tom Cruise's Oscar win. We're going to talk about Nolan's Odyssey. We're going to talk about James Cameron's future plans and plans that could have been. We're going to talk about Marty Supreme, the upcoming Timothée Chalamet film. We're going to talk about a couple of things that came out on Netflix. There's a lot to get through, and I vowed to you, long-time listeners will know, I vowed to you to never go over an hour. So let's crack the fuck on, because the first segment, the fallout from Wicked, I have got so many fucking notes about this, because the fallout from Wicked has been mental, right? Basically, I've been getting hounded on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube for my review of Wicked for Good, which I didn't like Wicked for Good, right? And I thought that I give a fair and affectionate review as someone who absolutely loved the first one, and I made it clear that I really did not want to dislike the second movie. I actively wanted to like it. I think a lot of Wicked fans in my comments at the moment think that I'm a straight white guy stereotype who just can't stand anything musical, can't stand anything happy or fun or bright, colourful, and wants to just dog on Wicked. When in actual fact, I'm absolutely not that. I was such a vocal lover of the first movie to the point where the video that we discussed that I posted last year got commented on by Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Like, I'm not saying that to brag anymore. I was last week, but I'm saying it to make a point that, like, I'm not just dogging on Wicked because I love dogging on Wicked because I'm a straight white guy. That's not me, right? There seems to be a clear split in the critique of Wicked for Good, right? And the split is those who have seen the musical and know what tone is coming and know what songs are coming seem to be enjoying it more than those who haven't seen the musical and don't know that those things are coming. I accept that. What I don't accept is a disregarding of people who haven't seen the musical as being a non-important perspective. I'm not saying it's an important perspective, but it is a perspective. There are a lot of people who will see this film in the same conditions that I saw the film, which is I saw the first film, loved it, want to see the next one, right? And also, I did this review when a lot of people, most people hadn't seen the film. I was lucky enough to go to the premiere on the 10th of November, and this came out Friday the 21st or whatever it was. And so, like, a lot of people were dogging on me for something that they hadn't even seen. And now a lot of those Wicked fans will have seen the movie, and a lot of them will love the movie. And in reverse, I don't denounce any of their experiences. Like, if you loved it, I'm happy for you. I wish I loved it. Like, what's the only person getting denounced here is me. Everyone's telling me that I can't have an opinion because I haven't seen the musical. I think that's absolutely fucking bullshit. But we'll come on to that. I understand the irony, by the way, of someone saying they're being denounced, another word for silenced, when they have a fucking podcast, right? I get that. I understand the irony with that, but you get what I'm saying. Ultimately, people, and I guess I mean Wicked fans who are enjoying this movie, and again, you have a right to enjoy this movie, I think people need to stop second-guessing a moviegoer's reaction to the movie. So someone who hasn't seen the musical and is seeing this as a movie can only judge this as a movie, because this is, wait for it, a movie. So I've been sent reels, and thanks to those people, I've been sent reels explaining that musical lovers will like it, cinema goers won't like it as much because they're expecting the first one, blah, 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 but we'll come on to that in terms of the tone and things. I get that, but it doesn't mean the cinema goers have to just shut up and go, oh, cool, yeah, I get it, cool, I guess it's great then. Like, it's still a film. It's been released as a film. Do you know what? Do you know what it's being spoken about like? It's being spoken about like a recording of a stage play. You know, like the Hamilton thing on Disney Plus. Like, and if I went to that and I was sat there being like, well, the cinematography sucks, and they could be like, well, it's a fucking stage play. Like, that's not what this is. This is a movie. This has been adapted as a movie and chosen to be done in 2 parts. I am judging it as a movie. And if there is another movie that adapts this one, I'll judge that one as a movie. I won't judge it on the basis of this. You know, like, this is its own entity. It's like Harry Potter is from the books, but you judge the films as films. Just because one book was particularly good doesn't mean the film's particularly good. They are different entities, right? And equally, just because you haven't seen a musical doesn't mean you can't comment on the film. I can understand that you could say, oh, you're not allowed to comment on Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, because if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. That's completely understandable. But I have seen Fellowship of the Ring. I saw Wicked Part 1. So I'm allowed to comment on Wicked for good. Just because I haven't read the Lord of the Rings books, in this case, the Wicked musical. By the way, I have read the Lord of the Rings books. In this case, the Wicked musical doesn't mean I can't comment on the Wicked film, right? It's still a film. But I get it. I get it. Any Wicked fans listen to this. I get it that it must be frustrating to have mass audience eyes on something that previously felt like a niche love. I'm not saying Wicked ever was niche. Wicked is one of the biggest, best-selling musicals, most successful musicals to ever be on stage. But it's niche in the sense that people know there's this like community of musical lovers, and in that community, Wicked is one of the pillars of the genre, right? And now it's been made into movies, and that then naturally releases it to a more casual audience, right? Because a musical audience is a type of audience. It's a passionate audience, and it's a committed, informed audience, right? Knowledgeable. Movie audiences can be a lot more casual. People are happy to pay a £10, £15 to go down and see a film that someone says was good. So there's more eyes on Wicked now. So now Wicked fans are having to endure people who haven't seen the musical and don't know the source material that well, criticizing something that they love. I get that that's annoying, right? But that doesn't mean that the criticism is invalid. Do you see the balance I'm trying to strike here? We're only a fifth of the way through what I want to say here. I'm getting sick of people. So on this point, I'm getting sick as the host of a movie podcast, right? Of people getting mad at reviews that they deem ill-informed, right? It's very difficult as someone who wants to review films publicly to always be informed. And sometimes I go into a review, such as the Predator Badlands review, thinking, you know, how much do I know about Predator? How much sort of stock do I have to really dive in and criticize this movie that I want to criticize? I do accept that this is a thought process that you have to go through as a film. I'm just going to call myself a film critic then. You know what? Fuck it. Whatever. As a critic, right? But equally, you also have to be able to criticize something that you are just taking at face value. Because I don't agree with the Marvelification of IP. And what I mean by that is Endgame really brought in this idea of, and I love Endgame, but it really brought in this idea of you have to have seen X, Y, Z, A, B, C before you see Endgame. And that was a wonderful movement, right? But equally, films are films. They are their own entities, and you shouldn't have to do revision to appreciate what a film is, or to be entertained by something, to enjoy something, right? And everyone enjoyed the first part of Wicked as its own entity, and everyone was fine with that. But people who haven't seen the musical, people who had seen the musical. But now, some people aren't enjoying the part 2, and they're getting vilified for that because they haven't done their research and seen the musical. That's not fair. They're both their own entity. They both stand on their own 2 feet, and they both should be criticized as such, or praised as such, right? So I had this vitriol from Predator fans when I criticized that movie, from Superman fans when I criticized the new James Gunn movie, and now Wicked fans for quote-unquote not knowing enough about the world, the universe, the character, the source material to criticize these movies. And all I have to say is, like, a fresh perspective on an IP movie is a valid take. I get, you know, like I said about the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers, like, I saw Wicked Part 1, so I have a right to comment on Wicked Part 2. This is a wide release movie. I'm allowed to go see it. I'm a paying customer. My perspective is valid and, more importantly, is representative of other people's perspectives. Other people won't have seen the musical. So don't get Marty that I quote-unquote don't know my stuff, because I can't always know my stuff. You can't know your stuff about everything. You know, I know my stuff when I know my stuff. I know my stuff in horror. I knew my stuff when we were talking about Weapons, for example, and Bring Her Back in the summer. I know my stuff with PTA when we were talking about One Battle After Another. I know my stuff with the Mission Impossible movies. You know, I may be coming across as a bit of a stereotype here, but it is what it is. I know my stuff when I know my stuff. And when I don't know my stuff, I'm not going to not review something that's been delivered to my fucking eyeballs and been ingested through my retina into my brain and processed, and now I'm spitting out an opinion. That's something that I'm allowed to do. And so are you. And so are you. And so are you. And you know the best part? Movie criticism is subjective. Nobody is right. Nobody is wrong. I actually wrote this line that I think I'm going to put on every single fucking comment from now on, which is this. Movie criticism is subjective. My opinion is just as subjective as yours. Nothing I say affects your right to enjoy or not enjoy a movie, nor do I seek to deny your valid viewing experience, right? You can tell how much this has affected me being dogged on by Wicked fans, that I've written that on a flight last week. I was like, oh, fuck. I was just so annoyed. I was like, I'm not telling you can't enjoy this movie. I'm just saying how I felt about this movie based on my perspective, right? Anyway, going back to what I was talking about. This is a bit of a rant. Look, if you don't want to, if you're not on board with this, just skip forward. We've got a lot more to talk about in this episode. But if you're into this, I think it's more than a discussion about Wicked. I think this is a discussion about film discourse and how it can get quite toxic online, right? So, if you are a superfan, go listen to a review of a superfan, because I seek out reviews of people who have the same perspective as me. And what I mean by that is not demographically. I seek out reviews of people who have the same values or the same interests as me. For example, if I want a horror movie review, I generally go to Mark Kermode, because I consider Mark Kermode to be extremely informed on horror movies, right? So if you're a Wicked musical fan, you need to go listen to a review by a fan of the musical. My review will not be relevant to you, and that's okay. And that's okay. Okay. To be fair, I thought I was in the minority view all of last week when I posted my criticisms. The superfans hadn't seen it. They were all getting at me. People who weren't fans of the Wicked musical hadn't seen it, so they were a bit like, oh, well, we'll see what happens. But then when the double bill happened on Thursday night, I don't know if you know this, but the Wicked previews happened the night previous. So it was officially released on Friday the 21st, but on Thursday the 20th, most of the major chains did double bills to launch the movie. So it was Wicked Part 1. I think they all started at 6 p.m. or it might have been 5 p.m. Wicked Part 1, a break, and then Wicked Part 2, right? And what was so funny was, I'm not saying I'm in the majority now in terms of criticising Wicked. There are loads of people who've enjoyed for good, and I'm happy for them, right? But I did wake up to streams of agreement after that double bill. After a few days of being villainised and demonised, I woke up to loads of people being like, oh yeah, you might be right, actually. And I'll tell you, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at Wicked being, in my opinion, not so good. I'll tell you what I'm laughing at. I'm laughing at the fact that I was saying that this film was a bit slow in parts. It dragged and the tone was off and all this. I was just imagining all these people had gone to the double bill, sat through 3 hours of one of the best films of the last 10 years, which is Wicked Part 1, and then had to sit through another 2.5 hours, which, regardless of how good a movie is, 5 to 6 hours of sitting in a cinema is fucking boring, right? And the second half of this musical, in my opinion, in the movie form, is also boring, right? And then I heard from a listener who messaged me on Instagram, hi to you, that there was only a 10-minute break in between. After defying gravity, you're crying your eyes out, 10-minute break to have a piss and a shit, and then come back and you had to watch part 2, right? So they've seen it in a 5+ hour double bill where they must have been so fucking knackered. By the end of it, they've seen 5 hours of material, and what I'd seen in isolation at the fucking premiere and found a little bit boring, they saw in this fucking marathon, and they all came out, got their phones out, and they were like, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, for fuck's sake. I guess you're onto something. Again, I'm not saying that's everyone, but it was funny to see those comments. But, you know, people do love it too. Like I said, people do love this film. Musical fans are giving this 5 stars because they either objectively, authentically love it, which is so fine, or because they're saying it's a good adaptation of what they know the stage play to be. And this is a key point. I think that's also okay, by the way. You're allowed to like or dislike a movie for basically any reason. Do you know why? Because you're your own brain. And if you enjoy something, that is the be-all and end-all. You don't have to check with anyone if you enjoy it, right? But... in my opinion, it's not right to give something 5 stars for adapting something accurately, right? You should rate it based on what it is, not if it's adapted something accurately. Do you get what I'm saying? And you, by the way, that is your prerogative. You can do that. If you're a Wicked musical fan and you think this is a good adaptation of what I know the second act of the stage musical to be, 5 stars, then fine. But I don't think that's a legitimate rating, because I think that's like saying, hey, I'll go back to fucking Lord of the Rings again. Hey, they made Lord of the Rings Return of the King word for fucking word. That makes it a good film. Well, not necessarily. You know, they have to change certain things to make it Return of the King that we know and love. It's a film. It's an adaptation of something, but it's a film. And I watch it as a film. You see it as a film. You judge it as a film. And as a film, as I said in my review, it's inherited a lot of the issues from the second act of the musical, as I've been told by Wicked fans after having seen the film, right? So just because that's adapted accurately doesn't make it good, because what it's adapted was originally flawed, as I've heard from Wicked fans, and is still flawed. So if you're talking about the adaptation, that to me is a bad adaptation because you haven't fixed the flaws. But equally, let's just critique this without the adaptation in mind. Let's just say this is a film and I'm seeing a film, right? That to me is how you should rate this film. Another thing, I will finish at some point. Another thing, I got a lot of comments saying, you know, it's not boring, it's supposed to be dark. I'm sorry, they're two different things. It's supposed to be not fun is not a valid excuse, right? It's supposed to be darker. Yeah, but you all also talk about, well, a lot of you also talk about how the second act is not as good. So it's like you've sort of, you take either side of the argument depending on what criticism is coming your way. You know, if someone says it's boring, then you say, oh, well, it's darker, and you should appreciate that. And if someone says the song's not as good, then you say, oh, well, the second act of the musical is not as good, and we all know that. So why are you criticizing it? You know, it's this defensiveness from both angles where it's like slippering out of your fingers like a little fucking eel. Like, let's not even use the word fun, because last week I said it's not that fun, and I got a lot of criticism for that phrase because they're saying, well, this is an allegory for the Holocaust, this is an allegory for racism and this and that, and I accept that, and therefore it shouldn't be entertaining. It is a lot darker. This is Wicked, okay? It's a darker half of the story, yes, and it does have dark allegories in it, right? But it's a commercial mainstream movie with broad appeal. Okay, this isn't Schindler's List, right? This is Schindler's List. I know that's an extreme example, but that's a dark story told in a dark way for the purposes of education, mourning, reflection, respect. Okay, I understand some of the themes are actually similar, but the palette is different. Okay, this is telling a dark story for the purposes of entertainment. entertainment. Let's exchange the word fun for entertainment. And anyone who denies that, you're off your fucking head, right? This is a musical designed for entertainment. And just because the themes are dark, just because the messages are meaningful, doesn't mean it shouldn't be entertaining, okay? That's like saying in The Lion King, when Mufasa falls off the cliff, it shouldn't be entertaining. No. You're entertained. It's dark. It's sad. You're sorrowful. You're upset. But you're entertained through that darkness, right? Darkness doesn't mean it can't be entertaining. Darkness doesn't mean it can't be fun. And that's not the same as saying Schindler's List is entertaining. That's not the same, certainly not, as saying Schindler's List is fun, right? But we're not talking about Schindler's List. We're talking about fucking Wicked, right? We're talking about a mainstream commercial movie with the purposes of entertainment where there's a fucking green witch and a fucking Wizard of Oz, and like, it's not the same discussion, right? If it's boring, and that's not down to the tone. And on the songs, I'd said the songs weren't good enough. People are relying on No Good Deed. People are relying on For Good. And by relying, I don't mean that those songs are bad. Those songs are good. But to be clear, when I said that there was no bangers, I mean within that first hour of the movie. It really felt like that first hour of the movie was just not hitting with me or people in the room. Regardless, there are some decent songs in there, and I touched on that in the review, but it's not enough. It's nowhere near the hit parade of the first movie. And again, let me be clear, that's not because they're dark songs. Like, the darkest songs can be the most entertaining or the most invigorating. For example, in The Lion King, when Scar sings a shiny new era is tiptoeing nearer, that's one of the best fucking songs in the whole fucking film. And it's dark as shit, right? Anyway, and I also... And by the way, it's fine if you know and love the musical and you have the recognition of the musical, because you're naturally going to enjoy those songs more, you know? When you're a big fan of a band, you will go. What I often do is I'll give their album a long period to gestate. So I'll listen again, because sometimes by repetition and by like a sort of recognition, you can enjoy music. That is something about music that you can sort of like learn to understand or enjoy something that might not be that good. I'm not saying all these songs aren't that good, but I am saying that on first listen, some of them don't hit as much as the first movie, but they might be hitting for musical fans because you've just heard them a few times, right? I'm trying to be fair about these criticisms. I know I sound angry. I'm not angry at people who love this movie. I want to be clear. I'm angry at being accused of not... I'm angry at being told I can't have an opinion. That's what's really set me off. Also, I picked No Place Like Home in my first review as being a song that wasn't up to snuff. And then I've since found out that No Place Like Home was written for the movie. It was not even part of the original second act of the musical. So I'm not far off. I'm not far off in my criticisms, right? Also, sip of my fucking juice. I've got my Christmas socks on. We're going in, right? We are nearly done, I promise. As someone who's never seen the musical, there was a lot of plot in this movie that did pass me by, and I think a lot of it is because it wasn't told well enough, because there's just too much missing in my memory. Why do they hate the animals? I understand it's an allegory for what we've discussed, but why? Why can't the animals speak anymore? What specifically? Is it to do with the spell? Is it to do with the Grimmery spell, and that means that they can't speak? Or was that just the monkey wings? Like, what a fucking sentence that is. I'm going to say this halfway. I'm not saying these things aren't answered. I'm saying some of these things are under-explained. How the fuck did Elphaba avoid actually dying when she got evaporated, or whatever you'd say, by the characters from The Wizard of Oz at the end of For Good? Because she sure as hell looks like she fucking dies in The Wizard of Oz. So is this movie canon, or is it its own interpretation, right? Outside Oz, why is it just a desert? You've got Munchkinland, you've got Oz. It's just a desert outside, and this is spoiler alert. This, if you're still listening to this and you haven't seen the movie and you care about spoilers, I mean, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but Elphaba and Fiyero, the Scarecrow, walk off into the desert that surrounds Oz at the end of the movie. it got me in the sense of this almost like Assassin's Creed GTA syndrome, where anyone who's played those games know that, like, Red Dead Redemption, like, the map kind of ends at a certain point. Like, there's a finite distance that you can travel because they literally just run out of developing time or resources. It almost felt like that. It felt like, oh, it's a desert outside of Oz because there's just not enough ideas. There's not enough ideas. It's actually quite a lazy iteration of the canon of Wizard of Oz. Because there's literally nothing out there. Like, the map ends, the imagination ends, the thought that has gone into this literally ends at the perimeter of Oz. Like, everything is so under-realized, and these things didn't bother me in the first movie, but they're bothering me now. The train station, why is it just in a random field? What the fuck is that? Munchkinland, where is it? What is beyond the horizon in the desert? Like, everything just felt underbaked in this one in a way that I didn't care about in the first one. It's not a fully fleshed out world. What the fuck is Dorothy doing? Why does she look AI in this movie? Why is the lion at all helpful to the wizard, given that the wizard is trying to fuck off the animals? And why does the wizard want the lion to help? I'll tell you why. Because the lion's in the Wizard of Oz, and they've tried to squeeze the Wizard of Oz into this movie. I'm not saying you can't explain away some of these things, and I'm also not saying that I catch everything. I'm a vibes guy, right? But I am saying that they are under-explained, underbaked. They're trying to retrofit the Wizard of Oz into a story about Elphaba. Also, so in the Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow's Fiero and the Tin Man's Bock, and they're just playing along in their quest to kill the Wicked Witch of the West, which is Elphaba. Is that right? I'm not saying that's true in the Wizard of Oz as it was originally made. I know this was written as a book since then. But I'm saying, in the world of Wicked, are you saying... And you can't say to me that it's not canon, it's not treating itself as canon to Wizard of Oz, because the fucking characters are there in this film. You see the backs of their heads and shit. So are you saying that Fiero and the Tin Man are friends? Like what the fuck? I can't even finish that. Like, what the fuck is happening with Fiero being in this universe's version of Wizard of Oz with the lion and the Tin Man, who is Bock? Are they friends? Like, and are they trying to kill the Wicked Witch of the West? Are they playing along? Are they like, what? It's just not working. It's not working. And look, and there's what bothers me as well is that there's a baked in excuse to all these plot holes, because this is based on a musical, which in turn is based on a book, which is only referential to a 1939 movie, which in turn is based on a book. The Wizard of Oz is based on The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, written in 1900. So any plot holes or patchy moments are being excused by Wicked fans as only being referential, or not being canon, or being from another segment of this mosaic of this massive world, right? Oh, it doesn't matter because this, it doesn't matter because that, because that's actually not to do with The Wizard of Oz, or, you know... And also, just a final point, I mentioned last time that I wasn't clear on Elphaba's arc, and that was clarified to me listening to another podcast, right? This is a story of an outcast. This is about finding the human beneath the evil. That, to me, is the creed of Wicked. Am I wrong about that? I know there's other allegories involved. I know there's other messages involved. But ultimately, I believe the person who wrote Wicked the book originally was like, hey, how can I explain that if you knew everyone's story, you would understand them. You would not consider them evil. That is best described by picking the most evil character to have ever existed in movies, right, or in pop culture, and explaining why they didn't start out evil. I think that's a really effective seed to a story, and that's what works so well in the first movie, right? And I think the first movie really effectively analogized racism, prejudice, ostracizing someone due to their difference, in this case, green skin, and being a weird witch. And then she's taken in by Glinda, the most popular girl in school, who actually sees her for who she truly is, right? And that's the love story. And I've been assured by Wicked fans that indeed is the love story. But then in this movie, they're fighting over a boy. They're fighting over Fiero. And I'm now told that that's a lesser part of the stage version, but a big part of the movie. So they've actually made it worse, because they've delegitimized the love that was in this movie between the two friends by making them fight over a boy. I'm sorry, but how is that a message of the movie? That like, oh, suddenly we're not passing the fucking Bechdel test here. Suddenly all they care about is Fiyero, and that surmounts any friendship that they ever had. She's literally taking Fiyero off her best friend and shagging him in a treehouse, right? And then get this. I swear to God, I'm nearly done. I swear. Get this. At the end of this movie, she walks off into the sunset of this desert with Fiyero, a boy. So it's not a story of friendship, but it's a story of getting the boy. And she chooses to live in infamy forever, a depiction of pure evil. Elphaba, who we know to be a wonderful human, a wonderful witch, or whatever the fuck she is considered a depiction of pure evil forevermore. And Glinda is sort of happy for that to go down because she's not correcting the Munchkins, right? Glinda, a white saviour, you could say, Glinda will rule for eternity. But so it delegitimizes the message of difference in the first place. We were supposed to be championing in the first movie was about championing the fact that difference is okay. She's got green skin, but it doesn't matter. Glinda's letting her in. And then suddenly Glinda is just going to rule the whole of Oz, and Elphaba has to go live in obscurity and pretend that she doesn't exist anymore. How is that delivering the message of accepting difference, right? Not to mention the fact that the Scarecrow, Fiyero, doesn't have a brain in The Wizard of Oz. So if this is at all canon, Elphaba has just taken a brainless Scarecrow into the wilderness to fuck. What the fuck? What the fuck? Is that what we are supposed... How canon is this movie? Is it Wizard of Oz or is it not? I'm not saying these questions aren't answered. Like, just want to repeat that. I'm not saying that they even matter. I'm just saying that the plot was not communicated well enough to me, and or I was bored enough to start thinking about them, right? For me. Anyway, this has become my most liked Letterboxd review of all time from people who agree with me. That's not everyone. I'm not saying you also dislike this movie. But I am saying I maintain my opinion. I maintain that I think the first part is a classic. And I maintain that I think this one is misguided. And I didn't hate the movie, by the way. I know I'm ranting because I'm defensive and I'm trying to respond to these comments that I've been getting. But I didn't hate the movie. The singing's great. There's love in there. There's good intent in there. I still want Ariana Grande to get her Oscar. I don't think this movie is as good a representation of her skills as the first one, where she could show lightness and dark. Like, she's an absolutely unreal comedic actor and singer and dramatic actor. I think this one is a little bit more weighted to the dramatic in a way that doesn't expose her full talents, right? But I still want her to get the Oscar. Like, there are still things I like in this movie. I'm not saying it's 0-star fucking crap. But I get that's how I come across sometimes. As always, movie criticism is subjective, and my opinion is just as subjective as yours. Nothing I say affects your right to enjoy or not enjoy a movie, nor do I seek to deny your totally valid view of experience. I'm going to say that as a disclaimer at the end of everything. There is no right or wrong universally or collectively. You can be right for yourself. Everyone is right for themselves. The only difference is some of us have podcasts and lay those truths bare on the table to be picked apart. That's me. And I accept that this is the life that I chose. And I want people to enjoy films. I really do. I want you to have enjoyed Wicked. I'm not angry if you enjoy Wicked. I wish I did. We're all on the same floating rock, hurtling through space-time, trying to fucking enjoy ourselves. So if you enjoyed it, congrats. Okay, let's get through the rest of it. So I saw, on a happy note, I had one comment saying, do you ever enjoy movies? Because I've just put a few videos out of me not enjoying Wicked. I think people were just getting annoyed. Yes, on Friday night, I saw one of my favourite movies of the year. I was told not to review it, and I'm not going to fully review it, but just to say, watch out for Song Sung Blue, which is coming out. Hugh Jackman, Kate Hudson movie, directed by the director of Hustle and Flow, which is about them as a couple making a Neil Diamond tribute act. I would say it's got to be one of my favourite films of the year because I was in floods of tears. It's coming out on New Year's Day, 2026. Again, I was told not to review it in full, But I don't think there's any problem in me saying how much I fucking love this movie, and I just want to get that off my chest. I will have a full review in 2020, New Year's Day 2026, incoming, right? In other news, Tom Cruise can do a speech, can't he? Tom Cruise can do a fucking speech. The guy has finally won an Oscar, and I'm sure anyone who's active on YouTube or socials will have seen what I've seen this week, which is that he has received an honorary Oscar at the Governor's Awards in Hollywood, right? And an honorary Oscar is something that they used to present on Oscar night in the first part of what would now be 2026. But is now awarded at the Governor's Awards, which is almost like the kickoff for the awards season, where they all get together and they start their campaigns for Best Actor or anything. So now they give out the honorary Oscars there. So people are kind of not really giving this the credence that it deserves, which is that Tom Cruise has finally got his Oscar. He's finally got his statuette. What he maybe should have won for Magnolia, or he maybe should have won for producing Top Gun fucking Maverick, to be fair. He's finally won it, and I think he deserves it. And he can do a fucking speech. His speech was fucking sumptuous. Go watch it on YouTube. I thought it was wonderful, and it's funny to me because I've laughed a lot at Tom Cruise on this podcast affectionately, in the sense that he just seems like such an insane human who won't shut up about popcorn, is obsessed with jumping out of the tallest thing he can possibly jump out of, and clearly has a very, very strange personal life where he's ostracized from some of his kids, where he's gone through these strange moments in his relationships, where he's potentially part of the fucking, what's that religion? Scientology, right? He's obviously a weird dude. But at the same time, in this speech, he's saying a lot of things that aren't weird and that speak to my values personally. So he said, the cinema, it takes me around the world. It helps me appreciate and respect differences. It shows me our shared humanity, how we are alike. And no matter where we come from, we laugh together, feel together, hope together, and dream together. That is the power of movies. Hey, Tom, you're a man after my heart. Thanks for not going up to the podium and saying something fucking nutty, right? He's self-aware at least to not do that. So I'm going to set aside his weirdness for now and just say, Tom, I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad he got his Oscar, and he'll probably get another one for acting before he kicks the bucket. And I think no one deserves it more than him at this point in time, honestly, because what he has given to movies over the course of 4 decades, and the variety of things that he has not only done but excelled at, is just like, is night and day compared to basically any other of his peers. And he's also a very fucking good speech writer and speech giver. So go watch that. Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu also introduced Tom Cruise for that award, and he can also do a speech. So go watch him as well. He's directing Tom Cruise in his next movie. Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu has directed The Revenant, Birdman. He's a very accomplished director who is an Oscar darling. So I can't wait for that film, because I think this is Tom Cruise rejoining his reintroduction to dramatic work. James Cameron, a couple of notes on James Cameron. James Cameron revealed to Empire magazine, so a reputable source, that he almost directed Jurassic Park before Steven Spielberg took the job. Here's a quote. Steven Spielberg was the right guy to make it, not me, because I would have made it too terrifying and R-rated. It would have been aliens with dinosaurs. Fuck! Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! Even though Jurassic Park's one of my favourite movies ever, and one of the best movies ever made, certainly one of the best blockbusters ever made, if not the best blockbuster ever made. Despite that fact, I now want to see that version too, please, James. Because I heard, again, haven't read the source material. I need to just fucking stop doing this podcast. No, it's a film podcast. It's not a book podcast. Okay. That the book Jurassic Park is a scary book, right? And it was adapted into a relatively family-friendly movie by Steven Spielberg. Still very scary, but I'm pretty sure it's a PG upon release. An R-rated adaptation of that book by James Cameron, Aliens with Dinosaurs. Fucking Nora, give it to me now. Feed it into my eyeballs. Also, Jimmy C. Just seen Jimmy Cameron, same bloke, just calling him a different nickname, he said, a quote I just saw online, and it's been an honor and a blast to co-direct the 3D movie of the amazing show Billie Eilish has been performing all over the world. Basically, Jim Cameron has directed in 3D a performance film of the Billie Eilish tour. And this is one that I saw at the O2, coming out March 20th, 2026, which, what the fuck, Jimmy C? Coming out of your avatar shell. Come on, bro. Speaking of big box office, as in Jimmy C, not the Billie Eilish film, which might do well, who knows? The new movie Marty Supreme, which is the new Josh Safdie movie. We all know Benny Safdie came out with... his brother came out with The Smashing Machine with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a sporting movie that flopped at the box office. They used to direct together. Obviously, Uncut Gems is the best example. Good Time with Robert Pattinson. And Josh Safdie's coming out with Marty Supreme, which is a ping-pong sports comedy drama adventure starring Timothée Chalamet and Gwyneth Paltrow. Now, the reason why I say speaking of box office to bring up this movie is because I want to make a note to say that I think Marty Supreme is a huge test for the resilience of the movie industry and movie audiences, right? Because I think recently we've had a lot of examples of maybe art house or independently minded, I will say, because not all of these are independent, but independently minded movies, medium-sized movies, let's say, small to medium. There's a lot of examples of these sized movies headed up by big, legitimately big stars flopping at the box office recently. So, Die My Love, Jennifer Lawrence, Begonia, Emma Stone. I'm not saying these films are bad, by the way. I'm just saying commercially. We're talking purely commercially. Christie, Sydney Sweeney. After the Hunt, Julia Roberts. Running Man, Gwyneth Paltrow. And also, crucially... Sorry, not Gwyneth Paltrow. Running Man... Glenn Powell. I would like to see Running Man with Gwyneth Paltrow. Surprise! It's not actually a man. That would be the first scene. Mainly, crucially, Smashing Machine, which is the same production company, A24, is a similarly independently minded movie, directed by the brother of this movie, Benny Safdie, and starring also a big major star, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? It's also a sports movie. So, this run of movies that aren't performing as good is almost like setting up this like litmus test for Marty Supreme to say, okay, Jennifer Lawrence can't do it. Julia Roberts, Sydney Sweeney, Emma Stone, Glenn Powell, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, all these people couldn't push a small to medium-sized, independently minded movie into the big time, right? So that is an indictment on movie-going culture at the moment and how like a lot of those movies would have made 50 to 100 million back in the day, and now they're not. So the culture has massively shifted. But Marty Supreme, can Timothée Chalamet do it? Timothée Chalamet, I think, is probably the peak of movie stardom right now. Everybody loves Timothée Chalamet, right? He's a girl's guy, he's a guy's guy, he's in June, he's extremely handsome, he's in Little Women, he can act, he's funny, he's in a vast variety of things. He won an Oscar last year, right? No, he nearly won an Oscar. Adrian Brody won the Oscar. He nearly won an Oscar, so there's a narrative behind him as well, right? Does the movie star still exist? Does the movie star still exist? That is the question hanging over Marty Supreme. Are we fucking done? Are we just IP based? Are we just marketing based? Is it just about how much money you plow into a movie? Or can we still have just a sense of movie stars pushing something to the big time? Not even Leo could do it with One Battle After Another. Look, One Battle After Another made 200 million, but it still didn't make its budget back, right? 1st of January, we're going to find out. Marty Supreme has been out for a week or so by that point. We're going to find out if movie stars have still got the juice. And it's like a lab test. It's like a lab test. Think about it, compared to Smashing Machine, where we know it didn't work. Then you can legitimately put a stamp on Timothée Chalamet and say, hey, he's maybe the one movie star we've got left. Leo couldn't do it. Dwayne couldn't do it. You know, all these people. So this is exciting. I'm excited to see. I think it's very, very impactful on our perspective on the movie-going culture. A few quick things left. I've seen that Great British Bake Off Christmas special is going to have the cast of Peep Show in it. 4 naan, Jeremy. That's insane. We're going to see that. I hope someone does bake 4 naan. Also, a couple of things I saw on streaming. Being Eddie, documentary on Eddie Murphy. Similar to documentaries there's been recently for other kind of major comedic legends. So Steve Martin and John Candy, the one on Amazon Prime. This was interesting in the sense that I didn't know Eddie Murphy was so introverted, and you wouldn't know based on his persona in the 80s and 90s and his film persona in general. You wouldn't know that he's so introverted, but he is, apparently. I think it's significant, by the way, that Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy, Jim Carrey came a little bit after Eddie Murphy, but Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy were both extremely, seemingly flamboyant and extroverted members of the comedy community in the 80s and 90s, and went on to appear in many, many, many extremely goofy, loud, extroverted movies that performed extremely well. And I'm a huge fan of Jim Carrey, right? Liar, Liar and Dumb and Dumber. I love all this stuff. But I think it's significant that both those characters, both those personas, let's say, the actors, but their personas too, have been spat out of the media culture of the 80s, 90s and noughties and become much more shrunken versions of themselves in present day. Eddie Murphy has deliberately shook off his persona. They talk about how he literally changed his laugh and he stopped wanting to be the person he was on stage. And he mentioned how he saw himself on stage in clips and he didn't feel like the same person. And Jim Carrey, equally, we all saw the Andy Kaufman documentary, how he sort of lost himself in that Man on the Moon role, but equally how he lost himself in all his comedic roles and how he started to resent people demanding him to be Jim Carrey, capital J, capital C, the funny, goofy Jim Carrey who pulls funny faces and falls over. I don't think it's insignificant that both those people have ended up at this point. I think it's as a result and as a product of the era of the media that they came from, how pressurizing that must have been. To you're being something is being demanded of you, like your energy is being pulled out of you by an audience who want more and more and more, and your comedic persona is being blurred with you. And they've both ended up being extremely quiet, reserved, closeted versions of the people that we knew. And I think that's probably a sad indictment of how stars were treated at the time, really, because I think that they seem, it's quite a strong word, but they seem a little bit damaged by it, a little bit. Also, I watched the Ed Sheeran documentary on Netflix. It was like a one-shot documentary around New York. A quick note to say, I don't know who it was for. If it was for the fans, enjoy yourself. If it's to convince new fans, I got the ick. I'm not saying I don't like his music. I think he's got good music, but it's quite a strange thing to watch as not a huge fan of Ed Sheeran. Don't really know why I watched it, but I watched it. Knives Out 3, Wake Up Dead Man, is in cinemas this week as I speak. But I did a poll on my Insta broadcast channel, which you can join via my personal profile, Fred Asquith, because I can't assign it to my Fred Asquith on Film channel account for some reason. But I do post on there with my Fred Asquith on Film. Not that important. I did a poll on there to say, when should I review Knives Out 3? Should I review it on release or in cinemas, or should I review it on release on Netflix? And most people are going to see it on Netflix. I don't like to review things with a London-centric point of view of like, hey, everything's out in London, so that's when I review it. The poll said review it when it comes out on Netflix. So I would review it now, but I'm going to wait. It's out on Netflix December 12th, so that means I'll be reviewing it in 2 weeks' time. Wait for that one. Am I going to watch Stranger Things, which I think is coming out as of Thursday, the first few episodes? Maybe no. I'm not. I was a very, very big... I was not a huge fan of season 4 at all. Am I going to give this season a go? I don't think so. I might dip in and out. So if you're looking for perspective on this new Stranger Things season, don't look to me for that one. But I reserve the right to dip in, especially for the finale, and see how it ends, at least. So thank you for listening. This was a big one. This was a big one. This was a chunky one. Next week, I'm going to go through my top 10 Christmas movies because it's the first week of December. I may have seen Train Dreams, which was out this week on Netflix. I haven't been able to catch that yet. The Joel Edgerton, Felicity Jones movie. I'll try and get that reviewed for next week. Blue Moon, I'm seeing tonight. The Ethan Hawke, Richard Linklater movie. Margaret Qualley as well. Jay Kelly, which is the new Noah Baumbach movie with George Clooney and Adam Sandler with potential Oscar hopes. I saw that at London Film Festival. It's out on Netflix on December 5th, so I will review it next week. That's everything. As always, movie criticism is subjective, and my opinion is just as subjective as yours. Nothing affects your right to enjoy or not enjoy a movie, nor do I seek to deny your totally valid viewing experience. Thanks for listening to At Asquith on Film, TikTok, Instagram. I will see you. I'll shut the fuck up and see you next week.